Letter 13. A Noise unto the World. Dear Lady Mary, in your letters, the descriptions of women are the most sharply drawn of your portraits. From Ratisbon to Vienna to Adrianople to Paris, you never failed to provide vivid and fascinating portrayals of the European women you met. Their hairstyles, fashions, favored topics of conversation, sexual mores, and personalities. When you arrived in Turkey, you continued to train your incisive eye on Turkish women. Your observations about them have given historians and feminists much important information on the daily life of the period. The encounters with women on your trip across Europe provided a crucial point of comparison for those you met in Turkey. You have left us 4 outstanding letters describing visits with Turkish women, and in those most memorable letters, you provide insight not only into them, but also to yourself. In addition to these 4 letters, there is another one, perhaps the most famous one of the entire embassy letters, as it was the inspiration for the Orientalist movement in Europe of the late 19th century. In this letter, you relate your visit to a Turkish bath, hammam, in Sofia. Exotica lovers have seized upon that letter to glean all the juicy details about the custom of the Turkish steam baths. The French painter Ingres, with his oils and brushes, along with a hefty dose of imagination, interpreted your precise descriptions of the gestures of the women, their bathing rituals, and the architecture of the rooms, to create the iconic Orientalist painting Les Bains Turcs. This letter is one of my personal favorites as well, because it describes Turkish women so lovingly and honestly. You decided to go incognito to the baths and hired a Turkish coach to drive you there early one morning. Did you honestly think, Lady Mary, that you could slip in unnoticed to the baths with over 200 women in attendance? Now, if it had been me, I think I would have done an about-face. But you held your head high and plunged ahead. Here are your exact words concerning those 400 eyes upon you. I was in my traveling habit, which is a riding dress, and certainly appeared very extraordinary to them. Yet there was not one of them that showed the least surprise or impertinent curiosity, but received me with all the obliging civility possible. I know no European court where the ladies would have behaved themselves in so polite a manner to a stranger. I believe in the whole there were 200 women, and yet none of those disdainful smiles or satirical whispers that never fail in our assemblies when anybody appears that is not dressed exactly in fashion. They repeated over and over to me, "Güzel, pek güzel," which is nothing but charming, very charming. There were many amongst them as exactly proportioned as ever any goddess was drawn by the pencil of Guido or Titian, and most of their skins shiningly white, perfectly representing the figures of the Graces. The lady that seemed the most considerable amongst them entreated me to sit by her, and would fain have undressed me for the bath, and I excused myself with some difficulty. I was charmed with their civility and beauty. The other 4 letters describe in detail your visits to private homes of Turkish women. The first visit was to a 50-ish Grand Vizier's lady, the wife of Arnand Khalit Pasha. You were invited to dine in her home in Adrianople, and you took along your Greek interpreter for the occasion. You were received and entertained with great civility, served with what seemed to be an excessive amount of dishes by her slaves, and then perfumed by them after dinner. Despite her kindness, you found the woman herself very dull, given as she was to devoting the majority of her time to charity and praying. It is your second visit that provides one of the most remarkable letters of the entire series. Upon leaving the dull dinner with the Grand Vizier's lady, your Greek interpreter convinced you to visit Fatima, wife of the Kabya, or second officer. Now this Fatima proved to be much more vivacious than the pious crone. Fatima received you with ceremony, entertained you with a music and dance concert, and offered you a fistful of embroidered handkerchiefs as a present when you left. Your description of this charmer is legendary. The fair Fatima, for that is her name, so much her beauty effaced everything. I have seen all that has been called lovely, whether in England or Germany, and must own that I never saw anything so gloriously beautiful. Nor can I recollect a face that could have been taken notice of near hers. She stood up to receive me, saluting me after their fashion, putting her hand upon her heart with a sweetness full of majesty that no court breeding could ever give. She ordered that cushions to be given me, and took care to place me in the corner, which is the place of honor. I was so struck with admiration that I could not for some time speak to her, being wholly taken up in gazing. That surprising harmony of features, that charming result of the whole, the exact proportion of body, that lovely bloom of complexion, unsullied by art, the unutterable enchantment of her smile, but her eyes, large and black, with all the soft languishment of the blue, every turn of her face discovering some new charm, and to that a behavior so full of grace and sweetness, such easy motions, with an air so majestic, yet free from stiffness of affectation, that I am persuaded, could she be suddenly transported upon the most polite throne of Europe, nobody would think her other than born and bred to be a queen, although educated in a country we call barbarous. To say all in a word, our most celebrated English beauties would vanish near her. For my part, I am not ashamed to own I took more pleasure in looking on the beauteous Fatima than the finest piece of sculpture could have given me. When you took leave of her, you state, I could not help fancying that I had been some time in Mohammed's paradise, so much was I charmed with what I had seen. The third visit was to see Lady Hafisa, the favorite of Sultan Mustafa II, deposed by your Sultan Ahmet III, who died a few weeks later of an apparent poisoning. In this letter, you describe her clothing and jewels in great detail, noting that she has an emerald the size of a turkey egg, earrings with gems as large as fat hazelnuts, and the biggest diamond rings you had ever seen. This I am very sure of, that no European queen has half the quantity, and the Empress's jewels, though very fine, would look very mean near hers. She served you dinner, accompanied by luxurious napkins woven with gold thread. After dinner, you took a walk in her garden, and Lady Hafisa took you to her bedroom, where all her furs were tossed nonchalantly on the bed. You were not fooled, and saw right through the subterfuge to flaunt to you the richness of her fur collection. Your fourth visit was once again to the home of the beauteous Fatima, a year later, and this time in Constantinople. The typical diversions included a visit to her quarters, and a musical performance by her slaves. Only this time, you could converse with her in Turkish, and because of that, you find her wit as engaging as her beauty. Again, you were totally captivated by this woman, handsome as an angel, and told her what a noise your face would make in Paris, to which she replied, I can't believe you. If beauty were so much valued in your country as you say, they never would have suffered you to leave it. It is impossible for us to resist this charmer any more than you could. On other occasions during your stay, you had many opportunities to make other observations about Turkish women, notably concerning their beauty, makeup, fashions, and their freedom. You certainly are taken by the beauty of Turkish women. In a letter to your sister, Lady Mar, on April 1st, 1717, you relate, I never saw in my life so many fine heads of hair. It must be owned that every beauty is more common here than with us. 'Tis surprising to see a young woman that is not very handsome. They have naturally the most beautiful complexions in the world, and generally large black eyes. In addition to commenting on their beauty and fashions, one of the major themes of your observations about Turkish women is their freedom. You insist that veiled women are in truth the freest of all women. This perpetual masquerade gives them entire liberty of following their inclinations without danger of discovery, and you conclude, upon the whole, I look upon the Turkish women as the only free people in the empire. I, too, have had many occasions to observe Turkish women. But I think I have been more fortunate than you, for I have seen women of all walks of life, not just high-born court ladies with diamond earrings the size of hazelnuts, who pass their time in uninterrupted pleasure and are spoiled by husbands who provide for their every whim. There is much more to Turkish women than can be seen in the upper-class ladies of the harem. I have met a wide variety of women in Turkey. I have discussed professional issues with women library directors, been treated by women doctors, plucked hazelnuts with a farmer's wife, argued politics with female lawyers, been taught to make kebabs by housewives, shopped with women from Istanbul for gold jewelry, and with women from Konya for plastic dishpans. I have read cell phone text messages for an illiterate village woman, and I have sat with country women in their window seats, overlooking the street. It is always said that Turkey is a country of paradoxes, of tugs of wars between many factors. I think this is especially true when it comes to its women. On the one hand, they are at the cusp of professional modernity, with a rate of female doctors and university professors that exceeds those of America and Europe. On the other hand, they are still murdered by their kin in the villages for any sullying of the family honor. Events which are vividly reported in full color on the front pages of newspapers. I have seen women bundled up from head to toe in black veils, and women in tight clothes and low-cut blouses. I have seen women so demure they will not lift their heads, and others so brazen and forthright with men that I am taken aback by their wildness. They smoke, drink raka, and are as sexually promiscuous as the rest of the Western world. Yet they are always somewhere covered, in some way, in the shadow of their relationships to men, be it their fathers, brothers, husbands, or sons. This paradox has always existed in Turkish culture. In Ottoman times, the Sultanate was run by a strong string of queen mothers for over 130 years, the famous Sultanate of women of the 16th to 17th centuries. Dominant women in power also included the influential French-born Nakşidil, the mother of Mahmud II, 1785 to 1839, who encouraged her son to introduce a wide range of sweeping, westernizing reforms. Ataturk gave the vote to women before France did, 1934 versus 1944, and he always stated that the world would judge a country by how it treats its women. Of all his political expressions, that one rings truest to me. I spoke to you about the wide range of physical types of Turks, and it is no different for its women. There are hefty matrons with silk headscarves and long raincoats, pouty-lipped Istanbul bleach blondes, village women with gnarled, knotted faces lined like old wood, with bright, smiling eyes peering forth from beyond the headscarf. You see girls in blue jeans and tight T-shirts walking hand in hand in easy confidence with their mother, clad in tessiture, the costume of a long, loosely tailored, floor-length raincoat and a floral headscarf. I have been struck by several predominant traits in Turkish women. The one that strikes me above all others is their gumption, courage, and resourcefulness. These are no-nonsense, hard-working, get-the-job-done type of women. They run farms, businesses, and families. Underneath it all, Turkey is held together today by the modern version of the Sultanate of women. Not the intriguers in the harems you visited, but the female turbines churning the wheels of liberal professions and tilling that black earth. These are practical women who take great pride in their homes and who believe that a beautifully kept and well-appointed home is an act of love. They have fast and busy hands, whether for tying knots, making manta dumplings, putting away dishes, or embroidering. They are determined, headstrong, and have common sense. The concept of working women is not a modern one for Turkish women. For hundreds of years, women have worked the lands of Anatolia. They carried arms during the National War. They harvest fields of cotton, wheat, and tobacco, tend to farm animals, carry wood and water, sort fruits and onions, look after the house, raise numerous children, and weave carpets of great creativity. Today, there are some 5 million women who work the Turkish land, shearing sheep, laying out fruits and hazelnuts to dry, knitting socks and sweaters, and making cheese and butter. They work under the hot sun in the vegetable gardens and olive groves of the coasts. and in the blistering fields of the plains. You see them bouncing along on donkey carts, sitting with their bundles next to them at the market, hoisting huge bales of fodder on their backs, and pitchforking hay. In the professional fields of labor, I have seen a tornado of a woman that runs the Büyük Postahane pharmacy in Istanbul in action, tending to all her clients like a triage nurse in an emergency room, barking out orders to her staff, greeting everyone, tending to all with a smile, a touch, or a glass of tea. Turkish women have the same blunt directness as Turkish men, but somehow it is easier to take when a woman asks your age than when a man does. They observe foreigners with great curiosity to see what you are made of and if you are respectable. Turkish women are exceedingly friendly. I was once invited to join a wedding henna party in Afyon by the bride, whom I had never met, but who saw me sitting by myself. I have been taken in charge by the woman office manager of a hotel in Elbistan, who went beyond her professional duties and did everything she could to become my friend. As you relate in your letter about the hammam visit, I know no European court where the ladies would have behaved themselves in so polite a manner to a stranger. They are also very caring and respectful to their elders. I note how elegantly and discreetly the grown daughter of my Kayseri family brings up coffee to her father's third-floor study, served on a golden tray with fine china and napkins, and silently sets it in front of him. Although I am not as struck by the beauty of Turkish women as you were, I will admit that they are very stylish and feminine, whether they choose the tessiture or the miniskirt. They like glitter and gold and embroidered flowers on their scarves, lilac or pink raincoats, and matching small purses. They love dainty shoes and fashionable jewelry. There has been much written lately about the tessiture fashions, which are now modeled on runway shows. The idea behind this fashion style is that one may remain covered, yet fashionable, and that covered clothing can be even more beautiful and elegant than open clothes. It is true that after spending time with the stylish girls of Konya, dressed in colorful scarves and coats and discreet jewelry, the women of Istanbul, with their uncovered bosom and legs, seem crass in comparison. The sisterhood of women is a strong one in Turkey. Women stick together, be it in the family sections of restaurants, in their living rooms, in buses, or in the mosque. They do not mingle with men at social events, where women tend to instinctively sit on one side and men to the other. The idea of a cocktail party would not be an easy one to accomplish here. Mothers and daughters walk in pairs, and when one is lucky, you can catch a glimpse of a brace of 3 generations. Were I ever in trouble on the road, I know I could go up to any Turkish woman and say, "Please help me," and in 1 second I would be in the haven of her home that night, her gentle hands healing any sickness or problem. This sisterhood transcends all class and social strata. Once, while waiting in the Konya bus station for my departure to Beyşehir, I noticed a wide range of physical and class types among the women passengers. Although most were dusty villagers, with their grain bags, olive oil cans, and boxes wrapped in string. One shalvar pants-clad village woman held a screaming baby, and out of nowhere, without a word, a gold carrot-clad cosmopolitan Istanbul lady came up to her, took the baby in her arms, bounced him along, and fished out a candy from her purse to quiet him down. When I first came to Turkey in 1978, I estimated in my notes at the time that 95% of the women that I saw were covered, falling into 2 distinct groups: the black-veiled chador-style covering and the more modest tessiture style. I never saw a woman driving a car alone, a woman waiter or service staff, and few women traveling on buses. Yet now, women are making fast inroads. In 2001, I had my gas pumped by a girl in the Black Sea town of Jeddah, a first. In 2002, I ate in a pita salon in Shavshat, run entirely by women, with not one man present, something unheard of before. I see women behind the wheel on roads everywhere now, sitting in restaurants and in business meetings. The age-old view of the place of women in public spaces as a connotation of her virtue is breaking down. All the women of the world share a common set of values: affirmation of community, hopefulness, belief in the importance of the individual, a concern for personal affection, a generous sharing of self and generosity. Above all, women will always choose societal values over monetary ones. Women the world over share the same essential components of their lives: work, family, emotional life, spirituality, health, femininity, and hobbies. Turkish women are no different. An Algerian writer once told me that women are the true men of this world, and it is up to women to teach men how to truly become men. In that sense, Turkish women will be a powerful factor in the creation of the new Turkey, for they, above all others, understand how things should work for the best of their homes and their children, the true foundation bricks of any successful society. In doing so, they will make a noise that will make Turkey heard unto the world. Sincerely yours, Kadria Branning.